Good evening, everyone. I am Martin, and I'm here tonight with the fantastic Daniel as we bring to you the first episode of the PASSCast. Daniel, how are you doing tonight?
I'm pretty good, and I still have no idea how you roped me into this.
As we've discussed, I took half the idea and we run with it, and now we have this fully fledged program where we're going to be talking about all things PASS. So, for those of you who do not know what the PASSCast is, this is a podcast where Daniel and I are pretty much going to be talking about anything related to PASS for a range of time, whether it be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour, depending on what the topics are. So we'll start today with we've got goal setting and we've got uh, getting started for the year, which I think is probably quite fitting, wouldn't you say, Daniel?
Well, yeah, it's O week, so I figured we could probably start with something that would be appropriate to maybe any newcomers to university if
That's a
they are joining us, which may be unlikely, but you know.
that's a good point, and I just want to bring up the little elephant in the room, or should I say the cookie in the room? Who's that friend? Do you want to enlighten us with who you've got there representing us with the nice little hoodie?
I thought you were going to be talking about your terrible mustache.
No, no,
This
we don't talk
is
about that.
Cookie Monster. He went on an adventure last week and became a fully fledged pass leader.
So
Um, he didn't run his mock. Jackie, our amazing boss, let him off the hook for that. And I think he's being paid in some sort of weird currency called cookies.
yeah, that makes sense. So would we call him then a pascot, I guess? Would that be fitting for us?
Better than the alternative, which was apparently pass cats. So
Okay.
I will take Cookie Monster over pass cats.
Yeah,
But
I guess so. I mean, he's got the hoodie there to brand it.
before we get too into it, Martin,
Hmm.
who the hell are you? Why should I listen to you?
Okay, that's a good point. So, to those of you who don't know me, my name is Martin. I am one of the senior pass leaders we have on the Gold Coast, and I've been doing pass for about 10,000 years by now. So I take math pass. I do, the first and second year math courses. Um, what else is important to note about me?
So, because you're taking pass math, you must be a math major, right? And really, really good with math.
Uh, I mean, I do a lot of math, but I study civil engineering and science, so that is my degree. I guess a lot of you will probably notice that I'm a bit of an imposter to the math department, but I think that's why you're here, Daniel. We've got you to balance it out. So if you'd like to share your applied engineering knowledge with everyone and why that's so great.
Can't believe you threw that in there. So now I've got to tell you that chemistry is just math.
Ah,
Um, Look, well, I'm Daniel Odwad, and I just started uni a couple of years ago, 2018, and I came to uni because I wanted to learn math. So, but we will be discussing that when we get into goals.
I guess it's a good little segue point there. So I guess I'll start by asking you why did you want to come to university? Because I think you should probably provide some context on your age here, if that's not too, I guess, scandalous for you to spill out, and then we can have a go from there.
Well, despite what somebody in the chat might say, I'm actually 33, not 25, as they may be trying to tell you. And I entered uni as a mature age student because I got to the age of 30 and was like, I've done a bunch of jobs that are all right. And I didn't really, you know, didn't really have a career, so to speak. And then had a few life changing events happen that made me go, well, you know what? I just want to do something I like. And I sat down and I thought, what's the last thing I really remember enjoying? And it was math. So I just came to uni to do math. How about you? What's your journey like?
Yeah, so for me, it's a little different. I took the more, I guess, typical approach that most people listening or watching would be familiar with. So I went to high school. I found something in high school that I really liked, which was engineering, and I decided I want to pursue it further. And so I said, all right, well, I'll go to university and study engineering and science. So that was what I did. I had a very, I guess, clear sort of idea from the start of what I wanted to do. But I guess that's the interesting part of goals is that everyone has different goals or different ways they kind of look at it. So, I mean, what were your sort of goals, do you think, when you were kind of coming into university?
Um, well, you know, it's actually kind of funny you mentioned that because I still don't really have any goals when I come into university, to be honest. I go because I enjoy it, and that's my main goal is to come out of the day feeling like I've accomplished something and enjoyed myself. And yeah, it's actually I know I propose that we talk about goals, but this is a reason I wanted to talk about goals, especially in O Week, and that is your goals don't have to be apparent at the beginning for you to enjoy the journey. So, but at the moment, that's all I've been trying to do is just enjoy my days at uni.
And I guess that's probably an experience that, a lot of students can more align with in terms of your perspective rather than mine, in the sense that, I guess it's not always easy to identify what your goals are. And sometimes you do have to just take it, I guess, day by day and see, you know, what your place is in at uni, what sort of things make you happy, and what sort of ways you can progress with your degree. Because I'm pretty sure, even in high school and as you start university, not everyone has their life figured out, and even I don't have my life figured out, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But I guess your experience is probably more unique than anyone's in terms of you know, coming to university as a mature age student and then still having to try and find your place and find your fit. So how do you kind of rate that, as in, how do you what's your perspective on trying to find your place at university? And do you think you've kind of managed to do that yet?
Um, I think I have, and one thing I will mention, and this is no way in any shape or form me trying to plug the PASS program, but when I started in trimester 3 of 2018, PASS wasn't available for any of the courses that I was doing. And it wasn't until trimester 1 when I started attending yours and Selena's PASS on a Friday that I started to sort of fit in a bit more and make a few more friends. It did help that I had a good friend who may or may not be watching, he better damn well be watching, Keegan, come to classes with me because he was part of our cohort. But I found that, at least by attending PASS, I found other people that were doing my degree, well, doing my courses, doing my degree, and had similar passions to what I had.
That makes a lot of sense, and I guess that's one of the key things we try and I guess push to people, is that university is not a solo experience, and nor is it a sprint. It is quite a, I guess, a trek for uni students to get through. But I guess, it's good that you had that one person there that was able to help build your network and, get you involved with PASS. I mean, now you're a senior leader with us, so it's a great experience and it's a great thing that you were able to, really take that on board. But I guess for some other students, this might not be so easy for them to really realize. So, how would you go about, I guess, goal setting for them, or how would you, encourage them to make these goals that really help them to integrate within the university, particularly in that first trimester, or well, which we're in now, say for a lot of students, where we're in O week and ready to start the year again. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, to use a lovely technique that we taught a lot of people last week, but I'm going to redirect this, Martin, and ask you, what do you think?
Okay, I was waiting for that to come at some point in this podcast, but okay. So I guess for me, I think goal setting is about recognizing what your values are firstly, and identifying why you wanted to come to university in the first place. And there's a video that it's been played everywhere within Griffith's learning environment. It's Alf Lizio's five senses framework. So it dictates five senses that are essential to student success. And I think a sense of purpose kind of really ties in with goals. So recognizing what your values are, why you're coming to university, and making sure that they're the right reasons to actually be at university. I think that's probably the key takeaway. I mean, I know my goals have shifted a lot since I started university. As we touched on
Well, you
before,
started at university back in what, the 1600s, right?
roughly, I mean, 2016, but close enough. But I guess, like, when I started, I thought I had everything figured out. I decided to come to uni. I really enjoyed engineering, so I did that. I wanted to have some form of chemistry, so I did a science as a secondary double degree. And I thought, I'll get through my degree, I'll get a good job, start working, and that'll be it. And then, I was fortunate enough, I got to work for one of the bigger civil engineering firms in the world, and I thought at first, wow, this is great. This is my goals checked off. And then after working there, I realized pretty soon after that this wasn't for me. Like everything I had envisioned as a goal to work there, to work my way up through the civil engineering discipline with this company, was just not the right fit for me. I didn't fit in there, and I had to completely start everything again. And it was difficult for me in particular because I was a person who was very fixed. I thought my life was sorted, I had everything done. What do I do now? I was confronted with something totally, I guess, abstract to me. So I had to really, talk to those close to me, talk to those who were important to me and who I had, close connections with, and kind of reimagine what my goals would be and be a bit more, I guess, flexible is probably the key thing. I think I found that being more flexible with your goals is probably what's the key indicator of having good goals, because now I've got goals where I'm happy with what I'm projecting or what I'm thinking I'm going to do. And I think they'll probably, they'll change, and I think they'll change for everyone. And I guess my key takeaway from that aspect is that you have to be willing to accept that, I guess, your degree at university is not linear by any stretch of the imagination. It's going to have its ups and downs. And it's going to be quite a ride, as I guess you can probably attest to more than anyone.
Yeah, so it's a bit more of a polynomial then.
Yeah, yeah, we'll go with the polynomial for the math friends out there. But I guess a quicker, or I guess a more recent example for you would be talking about your secondary degree, because you're also doing a secondary degree, but yours is quite a different story from mine. And I guess for context for everyone, this is kind of why this was our first topic to discuss, was because Daniel had quite a story to share about it. So let us know.
So pretty much, I when I went to the Griffith Open Day, I showed up at the admissions bench booth area and was just like, I want to do math. Point me in the direction of someone that can show me math. And they were like, oh well, there's commerce and business math, and I was just like, no. Part of the reason that I didn't cover before that I came to uni was uh, I thought I wanted to be an accountant for ages because I always loved playing with money and everything like that. But on in the real world where I was doing a job at an accounting firm as an admin and working with the accountants there, I was like, wow, there's really no math and money involved here at all. It's basically tax law, which kind of put me off. So when they were like commerce, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And then they're like, okay, well maybe there's education, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think I'd do well with a large group of children.
How does that work now that you're doing pass? Just as a quick little interjection into
Um,
that.
well, look, because I am 33 and most of the incoming cohort last year was what, like 18. Um, they're all a bunch of kids to me. So I tolerated. Um, I say tolerated, but I actually found myself pleasantly surprised by a few of them. Um, some of them know who they are, others may not. But no, it was a different experience, and it reminded me that I probably shouldn't be quite as close-minded about that. So
Anyways, back to
anyway,
your story.
the next part of the process was like, well, I guess you can go talk to the science people because they've got an applied math degree, and I'm like, bingo, that's the one I'm doing. Um, so I went over to the science thing and was chatting with Joe Tiralago, who a few of you may know because he's
Mm-hmm.
most likely
Yep.
your not course, program director.
Yep.
That's the one. Um, and he was like, because I walked up to him and I was like, I want to do math, and he's like, I'm not the guy to talk to, and I was like, but they sent me to you, and he's like, but I know a guy, and I'm like, good, excellent. I may be paraphrasing. I don't think the conversation went like this.
I can imagine it did.
So we were up near G42, and he walked me up to where I want to say 39 is.
Is this
Yep, I can't
Yuri's
remember.
building? Are we? Are
Yep,
we? Okay. Yep.
this is where I met Yuri,
Okay. Yes.
and
Yes.
Yuri was standing out in front of the engineering slash now sciences area and handing out flyers and talking to people. And Joe walked me over to him and was like, Yuri, this is Daniel. He wants to do math. I'm leaving him with you. And then he just disappeared. I was like, okay, cool. And so Yuri just started talking to me about math. And it was kind of at that moment I was like, you know what? I don't even care what the math is. I want to learn from this guy because he has passion coming out of his ears. And he started telling me about all the sorts of research and stuff he was doing about like liver kinetics and how part of his work is using math to work out how quickly the body absorbs part of the pill, like these sorts of pills into the bloodstream and stuff like that. And I'm just like, you can do that with math? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, sweet. Um, so it wasn't until trimester 2 of my first year, which was technically I don't even know how to describe my path, but that I actually got to learn from Yuri, and it was every single bit of what I expected it to be. He was just so passionate and so amazing. And in between meeting him at that point and starting my university journey and then meeting with him, I also met quite a few other really amazing faculty at Griffith that kind of has me going, you know what, I really, really like these people and I want to learn from them basically.
That's great. And I guess it kind of shows how, just one right connection or one right correct turn can lead you to a path that you're quite, I guess content with. I mean, I wouldn't say knowing you that you're probably 100% content with where you're at now, but I guess you're probably quite happy in comparison to where you were before, which I think is something that, uni students need to really keep track of, is that it is quite a diverse experience, which I guess, there you go.
I just realized I didn't actually answer your question, but continue and I will get back to that.
I mean, yeah, I was more talking about the diverse experience and how that, kind of trajectory is quite varied for a lot of people. And I guess, it does have its hardships, which this is the part where, I guess will answer my question. So you talked about the good parts there. So
Yeah, so I started in Try 3 and I did Foundation Math and QR and Stats, and Jason was a really, really awesome lecturer, really, really into math and physics, and I was looking at the degree structures and everything and I'm like, oh sweet, like half the stuff that's required for physics is the stuff I have to do for math anyway. I'm just going to do a double major. This will be sweet. Then I got to Physics 1A, and
Uh-oh.
Yvonne was our lecturer, and she was amazing. Um, but I don't know if it's because I'm an old man or if, physics just doesn't sit in my head properly, but I could get the math behind it
Not the physics.
okay-ish, but I could not get the concepts. And
Mm.
without the concepts, you can't really envision what you have to do with the math, as some of you that have done physics or will be doing physics will learn. Um, and physics kicked my butt. Um, so I literally did my final, walked out of the exam room when I was done with it, um, which I did to the best of my ability, and I got a pass overall, but it is to date still my lowest grade, um, even in percentage wise after reshuffling, and it killed me, and I couldn't do it. And so I was like, what do I do now? And this, I guess, also comes into what I was saying earlier about you kind of just got to do what you enjoy. And I didn't enjoy feeling like that. So I went to student services and I'm like, what can I do? And they're like, you can drop your physics major and then you've got a bunch of elective space. And I'm like, well, I don't want electives that aren't going to mean anything. Which, Martin, you can correct me on this after I finish making my point, but my mindset at that time was these electives aren't going to mean anything. They're just going to be numbers on a transcript. Nobody's going to look at that. Nobody's going to care. So I need to do something with these free electives that I have, and so I decided to pick up a second degree. Ironically, back in commerce.
And well, Dan suggested you could have done some bio electives. Would that have been a better alternative, do you think, rather than the commerce?
Look, I probably could have, and I still do have some first year courses that I have to fill out for my science degree. So maybe I'll pick up a bio course, but my passion is in math. So with my foundation math, with QR and stats, that was all math based. Then I did linear algebra and physics. Physics I thought was going to be more math based. Turns out they've stripped a lot of the math out of it. At
So,
least the technical math. But that's a whole other issue for us to discuss, not on camera
so
and not representing the university.
I guess
um,
that's a very good
let's
point.
not get into that one. But then, yeah. So, look, if Dan or yourself can show me that there's some math in bio or some math in chemistry that will get me through it and not make me terrified of labs, I will go for it.
I think that's probably a personal challenge there that Dan's now gonna take on board. I guess it also like at least what I can see from your backstories there is that you've always had the one constant being that it's math. That's the thing you enjoy. And it seems to me like most of your goals around why you're at uni and what you want to achieve from uni seem to be based on what happens with math. Is that more or less accurate?
Yeah, it really is because when I was looking, and this is to go into the commerce side of it more, but and we're not going to dwell on it because technically we're part of the sciences and blah blah blah, and I'm not a business pass leader, um, and that's no offense to them, but I don't think I'd want to be either. But that again, probably something I shouldn't have said while it was recorded. But
It's all right.
like all the pass leaders I've met there are lovely, by the way. Let me just throw that out there. But um,
But sciences is your home. That's the thing.
sciences is my home, basically. Yes. So um, let me just keep digging this hole for a second here. Um, yeah, with the commerce courses, I thought, well, financial planning would be something I'd want to do because I thought again that would come down to math and money. Um, Turns out, no, not really, because it's just a bunch of, well, you have to make estimated guesses on where to invest money strategically so that people can achieve more wealthy goals. Whereas when I was thinking of financial planning, I was thinking of it as like, how do you create and balance a budget,
Mm.
and how can you help people that have this much money and make that much money matter to them, rather than this person has exorbitant amounts of money and we want to make them more money.
Yes.
And again, that's no knock on the course. That's entirely what it was designed for. I just had a completely odd misconception somehow that I had created myself. So,
It's,
um,
I guess
and I knew I didn't want
that's,
to do accounting because obviously I'd already done accounting. Finance and financial planning both required the financial planning course. Wasn't finishing that one. Um, and so the last one left was economics. So I did economics and found that it was a lot of graphs and math. And it was like, holy crap, I found it. I found the bit of commerce that I like.
hooray. I guess
It
that,
also helped that I had a really, really amazing lecturer and workshop um, tutor in Doug. And Doug's just an awesome guy. But anyway, what were you going to say?
I guess that summarize comes down to a lot of, how we deal with expectations. And I guess, I don't think university particularly has, again, a linear set of expectations either. So, particularly when it comes to goal setting, it's about being realistic. Your expectations have to be realistic. And I think you also have to have a bit of an understanding of what the university's expectations are of you too, and how it, I guess, looks at your growth and your development, before you transition from university into I guess, a working environment. So, we talk a lot about, I guess, expectations in terms of, your study load or your studies, but I think there's other kinds of expectations that maybe aren't so, I guess, obvious when you first come into university. Like, you've got a bit of a social kind of component to it. You've got a bit of a, how you fit in and that sort of thing. So, I guess, what would your comment be regarding, social expectations, say, and how you, particularly now that it's O week and students are starting to interact with each other, what's your kind of take on that one?
Well, before we get too much into that, because I do want to come back to the social stuff,
Mm.
but in terms of yourself, when you got to uni,
Mm.
what expectations did you have for yourself and the workload that you took on?
Ah, so this one's a
I know
bit
you
of
got to
a,
remember back like 1600 years, but
yeah, yeah. So this one's a bit of an interesting one for me because I it's quite funny because I played that Alf Lizio video every single year, so it's pretty much ingrained in my memory now. But there's one thing there where he mentions about university being, I guess, easy. Like, you went through high school pretty easy. You thought university would be the same. And by no means did I struggle at university. I guess university was the place for me, and I was quite comfortable. But I guess I didn't really at the start expect that there would be too much significance. I guess I kind of put too much weighting on the fact that, it would be very similar to high school. I'd just go through it, I'll be all right, I'll get a job at the end, and it would be a very easy kind of progression. And I learnt pretty quickly on that, you know, my expectations of, I wouldn't say being handheld because I didn't really think I would be handheld, but I thought, I kind of came in with the perception that it can't be all that different to high school, that, you're going to have deadlines, you do your assignments, you submit it, you get drafts or whatever, and that's, how it is. And then you just progress one trimester to the next, and then you end up with a degree after it. But I realized as I went through that my values of why I was at university were quite different from what my attitudes were. And I had to really sit down and kind of think about what university meant to me. And I realized that, it wasn't just a thing where I go through, complete each course, and then I end up with my 400 credit points and I get my degree at the end of this trimester. It was something where I really wanted to learn, and I really wanted to, make the most out of it and be able to develop my skills as an engineer, as a scientist, to succeed, I guess, to do more with, what the university could provide. So I had to very quickly, I guess, change my approach and kind of realize that I guess the key takeaway would be that university gives you what you put into it. So at first I was quite not lazy, but I took it a bit casually. I thought that would be fine, that'd be sufficient. But I learnt very quickly that if I were to look for different opportunities, if I were to, extend myself, then that's when I'd really start making the most of university. And even like all through my first year, and don't get me wrong, if you guys do this too, it's a very common thing. You don't always make the most of first year because you're accommodating yourself to a new environment, new people, new situation. But I didn't make the most of my first year. That's for sure. I definitely just went through it, and I thought, okay, that this is fine. And funnily enough, it wasn't actually until I got an offer to apply for Pass that I thought I should be doing other things, um, because I realized that there were other opportunities. So, the opportunities were always there. There were always things that you could do at university. Those things don't just come out of nowhere, they're there. Um, but you need to have more of an open mindset to it. And I guess that's where my expectations kind of changed. And I kind of thought, okay, how can the university do well for me and how can I do well for the university? What sort of things can I do? And how can I actually make sure that I'm making the most out of the opportunities and the experiences that the university provides? And I mean, I've had so many unique experiences because of it. I've been able to travel across Australia. I've been able to present at conferences and, compete in different competitions. And there's all these different things. I've gone to Thailand too, just for 2 weeks to learn about how they study engineering over there. So it's about finding the opportunities, managing your expectations, and realizing that you do take out what you want to take out of it, and you have to have your mindset broadened in order to be able to realize what the university offers.
Yeah, look, I was just looking to see what you were going to take on as like a course load of whether you're doing 40 credit points a trimester, but you went ahead and just kept talking. So
That is a
that was a good chat. But you missed the mark on what I was asking by about that much.
that is a good point to bring up though, course loadings, because I guess most people would pretty much assume that, I guess, 40 credit points is the default thing, and that's what you do if you're full time. I think that's probably the general assumption, wouldn't it?
I believe so, and that was kind of the impression I had when I was enrolling. But
Mm,
fortunately for me, when I was going through the admissions, the lovely lady whose name I wish I could remember off the top of my head right now was telling me that no, for Centrelink reporting purposes, full time is only considered 30 credit points or more. And I was like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. And it actually gave me a chance to, as I've mentioned, do just 3 courses in foundation math and
mm,
QR and stats to sort of ease myself into my first trimester and still be able to receive government support. Um, and that was really, really lucky and, well, not lucky, but really, really fortunate for me because I think that I sort of found that with 30 credit points, it does give me a little bit of extra free time
mm.
without me going fully into anything. So, um, sorry, I just got a message saying my volume's low, but that might just be because I was mumbling. Um, Thank you for that, Ronan. Uh, Shout out to Ronan. Um, but yeah, so for me, 30 credit points works.
Mm,
And this last year, right before COVID hit, was going to be my first attempt at doing 40 credit points, which we can talk about COVID
mhm,
for the rest of the night if we wanted. So we'll leave that topic alone. But we'll just say that I didn't complete a full trimester last year. I did not complete trimester 1. I did 1 course in trimester 2, and I did 1 course in trimester 3.
mm,
So that kind of messed up my study plan, but it didn't affect me too much because they're courses that I can just do again this year, which is what I'm doing currently. So
That's exactly it. And, Jackie's just commented here that she wishes all students would start with 3 courses. And I think that makes sense. I mean,
I I think there is a big expectation, and this could be me misinterpreting it, but I think there is a big expectation that once you start uni, you do the 40 credit points,
oh, I
and
agree.
I don't think that that's the case, and I know that the way that Griffith has structured a lot of their degrees, it is expected that if you want to finish in the allocated amount of time, you do the 40 credit points. And again, this isn't a knock on the university. That's the way they
Hmm.
expect it and they run it, and that's great. But I know for and this is just from our exposure to engineers. I'm pretty sure that there are a few courses that are run in Try 3
Mm-hmm.
for engineers that they don't have to do in Try 1
Exactly.
and 2 to just take that little bit of pressure off them so that they can go, okay, I'm easing in and I can still, have a bit of social life, maybe have a part-time job or whatever, but that's where your expectations come into it because again, to not throw Keegan under the bus, but it's something I love to do because he's very easy to throw under buses. But he thought that he could do 40 credit points and work full time basically,
No,
and
no,
everybody
no.
he knew everybody he knew was telling him no,
Mm,
that is the stupidest thing you can do. And it wasn't until he started doing uni and started seeing the workload that was expected of him
mm,
so that he could keep up with the course content, that he really realized that no, working and studying like full time is not
mm.
a viable strategy at all.
No, and you have to remember that 40 credit points implies 40 hours of study. So it's a credit point is an hour of study. If you're doing 40 hours of study, that's a full-time load. So doing, 40 credit points and doing full-time work, that just doesn't add up. And I think that's something we do have to stress to students a bit that yeah, it might seem like the expectation is 40 credit points and that seems to be the default of Griffith, but I mean, I've done most of my degree now as 30 credit points and I only have an extra trimester to actually uh, add on to my degree because of how helpful trimester 3 has been. So it's definitely something that we need to, I guess, push more and let students know that it is a
Well, it's
viable
just
option.
it's one of those things I think that just needs to be normalized a little bit, and
Mm,
and I know that no lecturer, no program director, no um, staff or faculty at the university is ever going to tell you as a student that you're doing it wrong for doing it at your pace,
agreed.
because that's the main thing, is do it at your pace.
Yep.
Um, and maybe you have to be doing it like as you said, you'd only added an extra trimester onto your degree. Maybe it'll add a whole extra year onto some of your degrees, but
It might.
who cares? You'd rather get through it and be sane than get to the end of it and go, why the hell did I put myself through that?
Exactly. And that's the key, I guess, takeaway is that university is your experience. It's Jackie's put in another good point. You're going to spend so much time working. Like when you university is nothing. It's a blip on the radar compared to what you're going to be doing in your working life. Make the most of it and you know, some people would argue that differently, but university is not there to drive your mental health into the ground or to physically disrupt you or anything like that. It's really there for you to work at your pace and to make sure that you're achieving what you want to achieve and you're getting the goals that you want to get out of university, and it's there to prepare you for work, to prepare you for the rest of your life. So it's a key takeaway, and that's a key, I guess, point that has to be stressed is that it's your journey. It's not someone else's journey. Someone else's journey is different to your journey, and that's perfectly okay.
And I guess this is where we can bring it all full circle too, and that's part of, well, not full circle, but back to where we were going before, and that's somebody told me in high school many, many, many years ago, because I graduated in 2004. that the group of people I went to high school with will be the biggest group of people that I will consistently have contact with for the rest of my life. And I
Oh.
was like, that seems odd because I only had like 2 or 3 friends. So I'm like, I'm going to have less than 2 or 3 friends? Jeez.
Mhm.
Um, and they were right because once I got out of uni, once I got out of school,
Mm.
it took a few years, but I eventually mostly lost contact with most of my friends. I've recently been back in contact with some of them. A lot of it was my own doing because I'm terrible at responding to things, but it's beside the point. It is point adjacent, Ronan.
Mm.
But it is one of those things where you will spend a lot of your time at well, a lot of your time in education around people, and then you won't have a group of people like that again. So, one of the biggest things, and this is to blow a bit of smoke up Martin's butt here, but one of the things that I never expected to get out of uni, it was one of the things I hoped to get out of uni, maybe more of the partnered kind, but less so. But I've met one of my best friends at uni, and I honestly can't even imagine what life would be like without having this guy. You're
Yeah,
that nice.
yeah, yeah. You
You're that.
pointed it the right way.
I'm doing
Yeah,
it. Oh,
yeah. You're
sweet.
doing it.
This guy here, um, taking messages from me at like 1:30 in the morning because I'm bored and couldn't get to sleep, and it might have woken him up, but he will respond and talk to me for an hour or so just to make sure I'm doing all right, or you know something like that. So
I mean,
yeah,
it's a mutual feeling for starters, and a really it's a good point
I
to
hope
bring
so.
out
Otherwise, it
this.
would suck. It'd
It's
be
a
really awkward if you're sitting there going, "Oh
Yeah, yeah,
God, he's
yeah.
messaging me again."
Yeah, but it's a good point, and it kind of, I guess, it ties into the final, I guess, topic I wanted to get onto in kickstarting the year. What sort of things students need to look forward to, and what sort of things they need to
It's
try
not all
and
doom and gloom having to have goals and expectations. What can you look forward to?
exactly. And I guess that, quality friends are one of those things. But I guess when they're thinking about kickstarting the year, what sort of, I guess, what are the main active things that students really need to look for and try and make the most of to kind of start strong, aside from coming to pass, of course? We know that pass is not remedial.
Well, there's actually something I was going to suggest in there before, and it was going to be that little plug because Dan, our face of Pass, can probably say it better than me. But a college out in Wollongong, I believe, has equated 1 hour of Pass to 4 hours of study by yourself. So going back to that credit point discussion, if you want to knock out 4 of those hours in 1 hour, come to Pass. That was a shameless plug, though.
It was a shameless plug, but it was a very good plug, and it's one that we will plug everywhere we can,
Yes,
especially because
but
we do have many courses that like have pass, and this year is probably one of our highest, I guess, years that we've had pass available, which is why we're able to
honestly, I'm
do
shocked we
things.
have enough leaders to cover the amount of sessions we've got.
I
And
mean,
Jackie may beg to differ on whether we actually have enough, but um, we definitely have a lot of courses we're supporting, and
and I guess that's what allows
students are
us to.
asking for more. Like I responded to someone on Teams saying, "Hey, why isn't Pass being run for this thing?" And it's like, because we don't have it. I'm sorry.
We have to remember that yes, pass is run for high risk courses, but there is still a budget, and we're working up for it. Like pass has grown a lot, particularly since Jackie's been our coordinator. So we've had a good run of growth, and it's allowed us to do things like this, and it's allowed us to have, I guess, these extra things where we're
On that
able.
note, quickly, Martin, I
Mm,
do want to just to stress that this is a voluntary thing. We aren't being paid for this right now. We're just doing this for the fun and the love of it.
mm.
So don't think that we're doing this because Jackie put us up to it or something like that. This is an idea Martin had, and he's been toiling away at getting it started for the last 6 months or so while I was sitting there making fun of him the whole time.
So we've
But
got
yes, back onto the topic though.
onto the topic.
How can students make quality connections, Martin? How would you, if you were a fresh O-week attendee surrounded by a anxiety-inducing amount of people for me, how would you pick a face out of that crowd and go, you're going to be that person that might be awesome for me to have through uni?
I guess it's a bit of a, I guess, a balancing act because, I know for people like you, anxiety and social anxiety in particular are huge like barriers to making connections. But one one thing that worked for me at least, but who I can't speak for someone who has social anxiety, I guess, but at least for me, it worked in the sense. So, what I did was I recognized that everyone there is a new student. Uh, Most of them won't have as many friends coming into uni as they did in high school. So, everyone's a little lost. Everyone's trying to find their place. Everyone's trying to, get involved. And I guess, making use of the university's resources to develop these connections is the easiest way. I guess, finding common ground with people. So either through clubs, I recommend joining as many clubs as interest you, either through sporting mediums or through gaming or music, or there's so many different things that the university has to offer.
There's a club to literally go clubbing. That's ridiculous to me.
Like anything you can imagine, the university has a club for. They have resources, they have people you can talk to. There's so many different like help avenues that we could recommend. We could probably be here for another hour about talking about why each one is so invaluable. So I guess
Maybe that's a topic for another time, Martin.
we do have one there. But it is
Anyway,
like, yeah, I guess it's just about making the most of these opportunities and trying to look for people with common goals and common uh, interests as you, because at that point it doesn't matter how smart someone is, for example. That's irrelevant. You don't need that. You don't need to look at university as who's going to get you through university with sevens. No, you need people around you who will support you, who will help you, who will be a shoulder to cry on if you're having one of those nights, as we all do. So that's my key takeaway, I guess, when you're starting, is trying to make those meaningful connections.
and for me, honestly, it was terrifying. It
I figured as
still
much.
terrifies me to this day. Like, I I was not kidding when I said at the start of this, how did you rope me into this? Because even the idea of just talking to you, knowing that other people are listening to us, terrifies me. And I know I've played it cool all day, but it's anxiety inducing. But at the end of the day, like, it would be, and part of why I don't know if you saw it, Martin, but I was face palming when you started
No,
answering.
I've got it. Yeah.
Um, and that's because you're not going to just look into a sea of faces and go, that's the person.
No.
The first person I met um, doesn't attend our university anymore, and I have lost contact with. Um, but that's a story for another time, if maybe we ever go into it. But then through that person, I met a few other really good people, and two of them were international students that have gone home to Sweden and Germany that I still have contact with.
Perfect.
Um, Maybe they're not my best friends on the planet, uh, but they're people that helped me get through the courses that I was doing at the time. And I know that I helped them get through the courses. Not to toot my own horn, but I think I carried them a little bit, and they would be the first people to tell me that I did. Um, that stats assignment, group
Oh,
assignment was a killer. Um, but that's the other thing too, is like, don't get yourself into a situation where you got to do a group assignment and you're like, well, who can I trust? Who do I
uh,
know is gonna
yep,
not leave me at the last hour with everything to do?
yep.
Um, which I'm not going to say that those guys did that to me, but you know, there was a considerable more workload done by some members of that group than others, but that's point adjacent.
We are quite familiar with the ins and outs of group work and what tends to happen.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Ronan, that message just killed me. Anyway, I've really got to turn off Discord notifications while this is going on because
Maybe.
Ronan just killed me. Um, but yeah, so find. I can't ignore you. Um, you know, you're not going to find your best friend. You might find your best friend day one of orientation. I know a few people that have gone through their entire degrees with the person that they met on orientation, and they were, you know, bridesmaids at weddings and stuff like that.
And that's
Or
fine.
and that's good too. Like, you're not going to have the same, like Martin said before. It's nobody else's experience but yours, and it's not to put it in a corny video gamey way, but you know, I'm a gamer, so it's your story. It's your playthrough. Like, do it your way. Like, there's no optimal way of playing the game of university. Just do what you think is best for you, and then if you get to a point where you're like, well, this isn't working, look back and hopefully by that point you can self-reflect well enough to go, okay, well, this is why this didn't work for me. Maybe you're in a degree you didn't know that no, maybe you're in a degree that you didn't think yourself through on fully because it had more of a particular topic in it than you were expecting. All of you wildlife people, math is important. Sorry, I had to do that because a lot of the environmental science students I know don't expect them to be doing math, and then they get here and they're like, I have to do stats in like 6 of my courses just to pass.
Yes.
What? And
Yes.
it's like, yeah,
You
math
do.
is actually important, guys.
Who
And
knew?
they're like, but I just want to look after cute little animals. It's like, yeah, but you have to be able to explain why you're looking after the cute little animals.
And
Um, and that's through personal experience of some of the people I've met because I've done some tutoring at uni and I've tutored for math, and people are like, why do I need this? And I'm like, why do you not think you need it? Like, that's a whole other topic for another time potentially. But that's what I meant. That was sort of the idea I had in my head when Martin was like, what are we going to talk about for the first episode? And that was goals. And how can you make sure that what you want to achieve, whether it be looking after cute little animals or building a skyscraper or being the best personal trainer on the planet or whatever it is, but how can you achieve that goal and also be adaptable enough to be able to say, hey, you know what? I actually hate personal training, or I'm studying to look after animals, but I did not expect there to be this much math. What else can I do? Um, you know,
and I guess
it,
that's probably the most appropriate way to tie it all together. And it just goes back to everything we've talked about, you know, what is your place at university and why are you here?
and on that existential crisis note, we will leave. No, um, why are you here, Martin?
Oh,
Um, but yeah, if you feel like that's tied the whole thing up, do we have any questions from our live viewers that your lovely helper assistant slash best man at your wedding slash brother that isn't me? Um, no,
we're still a bit
I've
sore.
never met Michael, but I love him. Um, not to be forward with you, Michael. Uh,
We do
have we got
actually.
any? We have some questions. Lovely.
Yes.
Let's.
So first one we've got, I think this one's perfect for you, Daniel, because this one
Oh
just
dear
seems
God.
to
Okay.
tie in exactly with, you know, what you've been talking about. But Dan said, do you have any advice for when you don't reach your goal? Because that's a good point. We've talked a lot about, you know, reaching your goal, set your goal, act on your goal. But What happens if you don't reach it? What do you? Because
Well, that's, I guess, sort of where, at least for me, and maybe this isn't very helpful advice, but if you don't reach your goal, look back and go, well, why didn't I reach that? And if I'm going to try and reach this goal again, or if I'm going to set another goal, how can I make sure that it's more achievable? So, like, you know, I'm aiming for a GPA of 7. I mean, I'm using this as an example. I'm not actually doing that. I mean, it was a goal at one point, but that 4 in physics kind of ruined that idea. But let's say I'm aiming for a GPA, I'll be more realistic. I'm aiming for a GPA of at least 6. So it's like, what is my goal to achieve that?
Hmm.
Well, obviously, I have to get 6s. So what have I got to do to get there? Now, at the end of my first year, I'm sitting on a 5 point, well, I mean, I was, so I'll use it again as an example. I was sitting on a 5.33. Well, shit, that's not a 6. How am I going to fix that? Well, I look back and I go, well, how much effort did I really put into these classes? Did
Hmm.
I do as well on that assessment as I could have? Was I paying as much attention as I could have? Was I being distracted by pretty girls? Yes. The answer's always yes. Um, how can I how can I make sure that I don't let those things interfere with my future study? And how can I have that separation of personal life and work life and uni life? Or it's all about finding out where you didn't achieve what you were setting yourself up for, and how can you adjust it to make it better.
I think that's a very good answer to it, actually. I think it's, that revisiting your goals, making sure it's realistic, making sure you have a plan for it. It's a perfect way to, I guess,
I
summarize it.
Yeah, like don't be like Keegan and be like, I'm going to get straight 7s and work a full-time job.
Not a realistic goal. Not
It's not a
not a
realistic goal, but if you come out of one trimester and you're like, wow, that was a lot harder than you thought, maybe just go, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't need 6s. Maybe I can aim for 5s, and if I get a 6 in there just by aiming for a 5, sweet. I mean,
exactly.
one of the phrases I hate the most personally, because I feel like it's half-assing it, to be honest, but P's get degrees,
Fours
and
open
I
doors.
yeah, fours open doors. Like I don't like those phrases, but if that's what you want to achieve,
Then
go for
that's
it. And
exactly.
I'm not saying that if that's your goal, not to go for it because you know this idiot on a podcast said so. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is if that's the goal you want to achieve, if you just want to get through your degree with 4s to get to the end and say I did it,
That's
do it.
perfect.
Do it. That's like one of my friends. Not no, one of my very close friends just did a law degree at Bond, and he already knows he's got a job when he gets out of it because his job paid for him to go do the law degree.
Oh, there you go.
And so, he put a huge amount of effort into it while working full time?
Probably not.
Probably not the most amount of effort, but did he damn well achieve it? Yeah, he did. And he got some better marks than he probably expected. And he worked his ass off for some of them too. So he's also about to have a second kid. So, I'm
Oh,
glad he
fun
finished his
time for
degree
him.
before that. But anyway, the point is, if all you want at the end a piece of paper saying, I did this, go for it. That was originally part of my initial goals is people wouldn't give me jobs because I didn't have a piece of paper saying I wanted to do it, I could do it. So I wanted a piece of paper saying I can do it.
Exactly. And again, we can plug the PASS program a million times over. If that's your goal, PASS can help you. If you want a 4, if you want a 5, a 6, 7, if you want skills, PASS, PASS, PASS.
Well, I
Now,
think I think Tim actually in math in
mm,
his first lecture will always say this. At least he has the last 2 years, and that is it doesn't matter if you're here because you have to be
mm,
for your degree or if you actually love math. People are there at university to help you get what you need to achieve.
exactly. Now,
Um,
we do have one more question, and it's a very
okay.
important question. It's
Mhm.
how often will these podcasts be run?
Oh, To be determined.
To be determined. We'll,
Look, the way I envision it, and Martin can give a more thorough answer, but I'm hoping for at least once a month, if not once a fortnight,
yeah,
because um, this one was a bit more, I think.
spontaneous.
Not even no, it was the opposite of spontaneous. This one was a bit more planned. Like we had to have a first show,
Oh yeah, of course. Had to start
but
it.
well, we didn't. Yeah, we had. This was our goal. We had to have a first show.
Mm.
We've achieved the goal. Whether it was good or not, you guys can tell us later.
We have
But
a feedback thing in our Discord.
at the end of the day, like when if Martin and I have a week, because we're both going to be pass leading, he'll be doing calculus 2 with me as a student. Ha 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 ha. I'll be leading linear algebra, and maybe there'll be something that somebody says that week that one of us will go,
But
we should
using it.
talk about that.
Exactly.
We will get this all together, but we have the Discord, we have the I don't know,
Facebook,
Martin. Go go
YouTube.
go through the socials.
I'll just do the PASSCast command. There we go. We've got all our links. We've got Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Discord, blah 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 blah. We've got a
We
lot of
we got a
things.
bunch of different places, so if you aren't on them yet,
Join them.
um, not to sound like favorite and subscribey, but go do those things if you're happy with what you've heard here, and then we will always try and notify you guys at least a couple of hours in advance when this is happening. Um, because it is a podcast, it's not exactly designed, I guess, to be interactive. It was kind of my idea today that
Hmm.
I said to Martin, I'm like, maybe we can take questions from the viewers in Twitch, but if there's nobody watching in Twitch, that's fine too, because we will just rant and ramble as I am still doing right now.
We have
As
one
we're meant to
more.
be.
We do have
Yeah.
one more question. I don't know if I
Okay.
want to
No,
read it.
but well, hang on. The long and the short of it is, we will do more of these if you guys liked this. If you didn't, then obviously we won't. Um, Feedback is important. Please give us feedback, and yeah, we will do more. Maybe another one in a week or two,
Yep.
depending.
See
We
how
have
we
a
go.
few guests from the past
Yes.
leaders that we have already sort of
I'm very keen.
earmarked for having in on the show, to have a discussion with us about their journeys and how their life at university has treated them. So we would ideally at least like to get to them, but
Yeah, no, we definitely will. That's 100%. Even if no one watches, we're getting there.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway,
Question. We've got one from Oscar.
okay,
Said,
here we go.
yeah, Oscar, you know we love you. Okay, so he said, question for Martin: how do you manage to win so many awards and do so much? Brackets, streaming, studying, pass, etc. Are you a robot or a deity? Now, taking away.
Deity.
Uh,
It's pronounced deity. ESL man.
everyone knows English is my second language, so reading is hard sometimes. Deity. Um, so taking aside the joking aspect, but I do thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. But taking that part aside, I think time management is probably one of them. Especially doing pass, you learn a lot about time management. That's the big thing that I've learnt how to do, because that's allowed me to talk. Going on to that point that we were talking about today, it's allowed me to look at different things that the university provides, look at different opportunities. What things can I do to make myself more employable, to make myself stand out? So, a lot of these are hard work, and I won't pretend that it's just a natural thing or anything. It's not. It is a lot of hard work, but there are things that you can do at university to make sure that you can get these opportunities and you can succeed. University is not for people who are geniuses. It's not. It's really not. uni-
People that can time manage.
it's for everyone. University is for everyone. And I guess, going back to the Alpha Lizio thing, if the university has given you an offer, it's because they believe that you belong and that you can make the most of it. So that's what I've done. I've looked at for my opportunities. I've looked for things that could better my university experience, and those things come with that sort of mentality, I guess.
I you could probably see that I was playing around with something to my side here. It was
Yeah.
my phone, just so I could sort of show that's my
Ah,
timetable. I don't know if you can, how well you can see that, but
lots of colors.
time management. Um,
but
it's
that's
kind
a
of important.
but that's a whole nother episode that we can go into.
Yeah, maybe in a couple of weeks or
Mm.
less we can start talking about that. And yeah.
I guess then
Anyway,
this is probably a good place for us to wrap up. So thank
unless we
you.
have any last minute questions, but
I think we're good. So
yeah.
yes,
So
thank you everyone for watching this first episode. We're very happy to have been able to get this off the ground. I'll be trimming and
on the
editing
ground.
this. I'll be trimming and editing this and then uploading it to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, everything in the next week. But yeah, please let us know if you've got any feedback in our Discord or just message us or whatever. We're happy to take it on. We hope you've enjoyed this and have taken something from it. Um, yeah, any.
And for any of you senior leaders out there that are used to doing observations, um, you don't need to sandwich this one. You
Yeah,
can
no.
just tell us whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, no sandwich. We can take it.
Well, maybe we'll explain the sandwich another time, but I
Another
just want to throw
process.
that out there.
Yeah. All right.
No sandwich needed today, please.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Thank you guys. I don't know if I'm still on the camera, but
You are for now. Bye bye.
okay. Bye.